Organizing this global showcase for World Education Week is we believe that schools have incredible expertise in making sure that learning outcomes improve. Given the state of the world, we want to see the expertise from this particular school being replicated in schools all over our planet so that the world becomes better for everyone. That is why I congratulate this school for what it does and hope that those listening can take away conclusions as to how they should actually approach their own improvement journeys. Thank you all for participating, and I look forward to seeing you in many of the other events this coming week. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors for supporting this incredible work, without whom we couldn't have put together this global showcase. Thank you, and I wish you well for this event.
Fast-paced social, economic, and technology-driven change is redefining our world. And having a broad range of skills, such as creativity and problem-solving, has become far more important than being able to memorize information. To redefine how our children learn, and to empower them for the future, parents, teachers, and policymakers must stop overlooking a powerful part of the solution: learning through play. Play is the rocket fuel of child development, and there is a growing body of evidence to support that play is fundamental for children's positive growth and well-being over time. It is also an essential way to foster the skills required to thrive in today's world. The LEGO Foundation aims to build a future in which learning through play empowers children to become creative, engaged, lifelong learners. To do so, we work with a range of partners around the world to change the hearts and minds of all of those who influence children's lives through our programs, research, and advocacy, so they can all embrace the transformative power of play. Examples of what we do include making sure that caregivers, practitioners, and policymakers understand the importance of play, investigating, testing, and scaling new ways to bring play-based learning into homes and schools, using play to help millions of the world's most vulnerable children cope with adverse childhood experiences and toxic stress, or conducting research with some of the world's leading research institutions. Please visit our website and follow us on social media to learn more.
Language connects us all. It's how friendships are formed, ideas are shared, and lessons are learned. Language is how we find understanding and express love. It's how we communicate our successes, both big and small. It lays the groundwork for learning and growth. And for an increasingly diverse student population, it can be the key to achievement in school and beyond. That's why Rosetta Stone Education is dedicated to language and literacy. We offer solutions designed to support teachers and their emergent bilingual students, recognizing and celebrating the knowledge, culture, and languages they bring to our classrooms. Our products are founded on the adaptive blended learning model for individual needs, continuous progress monitoring for better learning outcomes, and culturally responsive pedagogies for more inclusive classrooms. With solutions aligned with proficiency standards, we support language learning while exploring academic subject areas, paving the way to better outcomes. Because for all of us, language is everything.
Dear T4 community, we talk a lot about teachers these days, but we rarely listen to them. Therefore, I am truly excited to join the T4 World Education Week to hear from teachers and school leaders all over the world how we can impact learning together. I am particularly looking forward to the global showcase. 100 schools sharing their expertise and best practices, I believe, will be a huge motivation for other schools around the globe. I'm equally impressed by the T4 Solutions Challenge, its finalists and their solutions to real-world issues in education. This gives me hope that we can, together, turn around education globally. The Jacobs Foundation is a proud supporter of the T4 World Education Week because we share a vision to reimagine learning and education by bringing together the brightest people who understand how children learn. Let's do this together.
Hello and welcome to Roedean South Africa's showcase on community engagement. I would like to remind you that if you are using social media during this presentation, please to use the hashtag World Edu Week slogan in your social media presentations. And for the audience, please remember to ask questions in our Q&A section. For translation, you can use captions, the caption function, and the translation in our presentation is in French, German, Arabic, Chinese, Portuguese, and Spanish. We have had an opening slide up which had information where you could link to a Google Doc for more information on many of the Roedean projects that link to our community engagement. The link to that will also be posted in the Q&A information. And I'd like to now go into some introductory remarks and context setting for our community engagement. Roedean South Africa is an independent all-girls school in Johannesburg, South Africa. It includes kindergarten, primary, and secondary levels. And we are very close to the inner city, where poverty is deeply entrenched and refugees, economic migrants, and South Africans live side by side. Our school has focused on providing quality education, and most of the pupils come from a high and middle income background, with some students on bursaries from a lower income background. Our school also has a boarding house, and many of our pupils come from different African countries. Intrinsic to the ethos of our school is the empowerment of pupils. And part of this is embedding a sense of social responsibility and critical thinking as a powerful aspect of the school's mission statement, living a life of significance, by becoming thinking, empathetic global citizens. We are also a round square school, and so we embrace the ideals of internationalism, democracy, environment, adventure, leadership, and service. All of these activities advance the completion of SDG 4 and many other sustainable development goals. In our panel today, we have Charlotte Hulley, who heads our social responsibility project at Roedean. And over the last 12 years, she's designed, adapted, and managed the implementation of a social responsibility program that has brought civil society and marginalized communities into the heart of our Roedean community. The program has received recognition and affirmation from both the Gauteng Education Department, that is our provincial education department, and the private sector for its emphasis on sustainability, social cohesion, and social development. Next on our panel, we have a student, Boikanyo Nsimani. Boikanyo is in grade 11 at our school and very involved in our social responsibility program. She believes that by living in one of the most unequal countries in the world, she witnesses the divide between the wealthy and poor throughout her life. And one thing that has always bothered her is the prejudices and assumptions made by people in our country without any form of action to rectify the situation. And so she has spent a lot of time being part of various community projects within her school to help destroy these prejudices within herself, but also learn more about, as well as grow the communities that she is part of. Thirdly, in our panel, we have Dr. Sonja van der Leur, who is head of department for thinking skills at our school. She has more than 30 years experience of teaching and was instrumental in setting up the cognitive education program at our school. We have gained advanced thinking school status through the University of Exeter. The last person on our panel is Ms. Tsidi Mogadiri, who's currently involved in the LO and character development program in the Junior School of Roedean, and from next year will be heading up the social justice and diversity program in the Junior School. Tsidi will talk more about part of that program, which involves a think equal approach to social justice. So I would like to start with Charlotte. Hello and welcome to our panel, Charlotte. I would like to kick off with a question. What led Roedean, as a private, pretty elite school in South Africa, to formulate a social responsibility program? And can you outline its approach and some of the core projects in this program?
Thank you, Marge, and hello to everyone. On the program, our input session was given the title, Helping Inner City Disadvantaged Children with Schooling. The Roedean approach to social responsibility is rather about reciprocal learning, in which partnerships are formed between the school and community partners. Roedean does not see themselves as helping, but rather developing an approach to learning that is sustainable and mutually beneficial. And it is through this framework that I will be presenting. Roedean developed a social responsibility program to meet the disparities that exist in our immediate community, being on the borders of the inner city, where marginalized groups attempt to carve out a life for themselves. Local schools are struggling with overcrowding and lack of resources, while literally across the road, there are 3 highly regarded, well-resourced schools who continue to exist in a bubble of privilege. Roedean was founded on philanthropic beliefs, providing the core from which to develop an action-orientated social responsibility program, developing and forming partnerships with schools and NGOs in our immediate community for 12 years. Experiential reciprocal learning is the focus of the Pedishang project, a partnership that culminates annually in a 7-day residential project in which Roedean grade 11 pupils reside in a semi-rural Limpopo village, implementing a women's health project. Many of the girls in this community are absent every month from school, in total of 3 months per year. And if you calculate this over her 5 years of high school, it adds up to the pupil missing 1 year and 5 months of her schooling. And if we want to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls as outlined in SDG 5, interventions and action need to happen. And this is why Roedean is committed to the Pedishang project. To date, 3,500 girls have been trained in reproductive and sexual rights. The selected group of grade 11 volunteers use a train the trainer model to develop the skills base of young Pedishang women and at the same time learn valuable skills about themselves and the structural challenges faced by the Pedishang community. They also distribute sustainable sanitary products, which are donated by the Roedean pupils. The highlights of the week include home visits, a Women's Day march, and a netball tournament. Young leaders working together is the theme for the week. Really encouraging the learners from both sides to be bold in undertaking initiatives with a sense of shared responsibility, and to inspire and encourage young women to be global citizens who are able to lead locally in their desired areas of interest. Roedean's innovative cross-curricular approach aims to build socially conscious, responsible women, and this can be seen in Roedean's partnership with Flying Children, an early childhood development program located in informal settlements in a region of Johannesburg, where high unemployment and violence place children at risk. Roedean's role is to build capacity in the organization, providing the schools with curriculum-inspired educational resources. The grade 8 pupils are involved annually in an inquiry-based learning task, making use of the habits of mind methodology. Pupils are assigned one of the Flying Children's schools and working in groups carry out research, prepare, and implement a hands-on project at the school. Through their involvement, they gain direct experience of the daily challenges facing disadvantaged communities, giving them an immersive experience that can actually be life-changing. All our volunteers attend training on the ethics of volunteering, and after receiving training, pupils are able to sign up to projects. One of these is the weekly numeracy and literacy enrichment projects with a children's home and an aftercare centre, which are places of refuge from inner city poverty, collaborating and forming partnerships with the schools these children attend. 78% of the grade 4 pupils in these schools do not understand what they read. And this is a serious problem and leads to high school dropout and unemployment. And it's for this reason Roedean implements a range of rigorous literacy programs, the weekly Monday projects just being one of them. As part of our approach to sustainability, it is crucial that the Department of Education is aware of our projects with the schools, as Marge has mentioned, in order to ensure buy-in from all stakeholders and establishing the potential of the department rolling out these projects themselves. Roedean uses a social development framework that deliberately seeks to offer an alternative to a more charity-based approach. The Roedean Academy, which partners with a less well-resourced school from the inner city, is a good example of this. Numugugu Glamini, a Bonata Park High School pupil who attends the academy, will tell you more about this in the video that will follow. The footage was taken from the annual Roedean Girls Leadership Summit that took place in September this year. Due to COVID-19, the summit was undertaken online under the theme of service and leadership. The online format enabled a highly diverse group of delegates to find their voice in navigating these uncharted times and explored effective ways of engaging with those in institutional power in order to bring about durable social change. Through this brief presentation, the concepts of meaningful, ongoing, reciprocal, and experiential learning, underpinned by a socioeconomic and human rights framework, inform an approach to building community partnerships as part of a longer-term sustainable development agenda. We're now going to show you a video clip of an overview of some of Roedean's social responsibility projects, followed by a clip of Numugugu speaking about her experience as a member of the Roedean Academy. Enjoy and thank you.
Sustainable social development is at the core of all projects that are conceptualized with our community partners, providing the pupils the opportunity to look outwards and realize that integration and innovation are key to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Monday House Projects. Roedean implements weekly literacy and numeracy projects with the children from Noah Yeovil, Christchurch Care Centre, and Johannesburg Girls Prep School. Flying Children is an ECD project. The grade 8 pupils are involved in an inquiry-based learning task in which they research, prepare, and implement a day at the Flying Children's schools. Pendulani Literacy Quiz was founded by Marge Brown to build a culture of reading in under-resourced primary schools. Due to its success, Pendulani is now collaborating with the Gauteng Department of Education Reading Services. Siakana Food Garden is visited monthly by our pupils who conceptualize the Vegetable Box Initiative. This project continues to stress the importance of sustainable food security. Perishang is a 7-day residential social development project. Pupils reside in the village implementing a women's health project. To date, 3,500 girls have been trained in reproductive rights and are making use of the sustainable sanitary products. The highlight of the week is the Women's Day March, followed by a netball tournament. Young leaders working together is the theme for the week, creating awareness of the importance of young leaders in our communities, empowering young women as educated leaders. The outcomes of this project are: the Roedean volunteers gain insights into the challenges young girls face of similar age, to build compassionate and mindful young women, to develop leadership skills, to create support structures for young women in the community, to raise the importance of being eco-friendly, to build self-esteem through reproductive and sexual rights education. The Learn to Swim project with Johannesburg Girls Prep School enrolled 130 grade R pupils in the program. Basic water polo skills have been introduced to the stronger swimmers in grade 6 and 7. and many parents are supporting the extra swimming lessons that the Learn to Swim coaches are providing. Social responsibility initiatives develop pupils' attitudes and values through direct experiences that deepen their understanding of service and leadership and the complexities of social injustice that exist in our communities. Young leaders are speaking about change, and there has never been a more pressing time to rethink the way we define leadership.
Both a government and a private school, the differences are clear to see. I've been attending the Roedean Academy since grade 8. This has given me, a so-called disadvantaged learner, opportunities I would never had if I only attended a typical government school. This is why I believe that independent schools all over the country need to partner with disadvantaged government schools to create more equity in education in a program like the Roedean Academy. During this pandemic, I would have struggled much more if it wasn't for the iPads the Academy had loaned us. Few learners at Banato have computers, so we didn't have online lessons like private schools had. But since we received the iPads, I'm able to have online lessons with all the Roedean teachers who have been helping us throughout the lockdown. Over years, we have had seminars where we learn life skills such as dealing with stress and difficult personalities. Also, for the first time, Lichtbron, which is sponsored by the Roedean Academy, is teaching all the grade 11s and 12s virtually. So even more students are benefiting from the partnership. This is a very good example of how resources can be spread to disadvantaged schools to set concrete targets for more equity and to help prevent low attainment and dropouts. Although I descend from a lineage where many are uneducated and unskilled, having had the privilege to receive a quality education, I strongly believe that I can break the chain for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte, for that overview of so many of our projects spanning girls' health and leadership and educational equity. I'd now like to turn to Boikanyo Ntimani, a grade 11 pupil at Roedean, who's been part of demonstrating leadership in service during COVID-19. Boikanyo, welcome. Can you outline what projects Roedean pupils have initiated during COVID to alleviate suffering within the broader community?
Thank you, Mrs. Brown. Previously, many Roedean pupils had been very involved in various social responsibility programs and projects, both within and around the community. Unfortunately, when COVID-19 hit, due to the large amount of physical interaction involved in the different projects, most of them had to stop immediately. Very quickly, it became apparent that COVID-19 would have very severe effects on those in our community, especially those who had previously benefited from the very projects we had to stop. So after seeing and hearing so many different stories about how difficult things were getting for so many people, especially students who could no longer go to school, students decided that this was not the time to step back and pause these projects, but rather find new and even more numerous ways of giving back to the community. So many different students took matters into their own hands and decided to start various projects of their own. These projects were created under the umbrella term, the May Movement. The sheer number of projects that developed in the past few months and the results from them was incredible. The fundraising for Face Masks project was launched by 2 pupils during lockdown to raise 21,000 Rand to manufacture 2,600 masks for Roedean's partner school, Johannesburg Girls Prep, giving each student 2 masks. They surpassed their target and used the extra funds for repairs for the school. In addition, families donated hand sanitizers, thermometers, and over 4,000 masks were given to Roedean's community partners. There were 3 main projects under the May Movement. The first one was a food parcel collection in collaboration with Noah Yeovil, one of Roedean's community partners, and St. Aidan's Church, where people could donate food and other necessary items such as sanitary pads and educational materials to be made into parcels and donated to families whose children would normally attend Noah. The Interact Board also continued to run various community service projects, including a Knitted Squares initiative, where students could knit squares and donate them to be made into blankets for flying children, an early childhood development project and one of Roedean's community partners. There was also a donation drive where pupils could donate old clothes, toys, and books for flying children. Another initiative was the Plastic Bag Drive, where they collected old plastic bags in collaboration with the Love Mats project, which recycles plastic bags and creates mats for household use, which also generates income for many women. Another initiative was the Siakana and Noah vegetable box collection. Members of the Roedean community could purchase vegetable boxes from Siakana, a local food garden, and donate them to Noah. This helped in two major ways. Firstly, it managed to provide financial support to Siakana, which was much needed. It also managed to provide fresh local produce to children at Noah, who would otherwise not receive any at all. Most of the communication and work done on these projects was done virtually so that physical contact was limited as much as possible. So communication was mainly done through email and WhatsApp, and donations were made at drop-off points to avoid physical interaction. It really showed all of us that so much can be done to help out our community if we just work together and give where and when we can. Many of the different people who worked on these various projects came together on Mandela Day to run a meal packing event, where we packaged meals for families of 4. This was done under the guidance of Ugusuta, an NGO started by a former Roedean pupil, which packages meals distributed to schools, organizations, and communities in need. There was also a blanket drive where students could donate blankets during Mandela Day. Following strict COVID-19 protocol, we managed to package over 900 meals on Mandela Day, so the event was a great success. This only scratches the surface in terms of the various projects that Roedean pupils took upon themselves to start and support over the past few months.
Thanks, Boikanyo, for highlighting educational as well as environmental initiatives taken by pupils to address the exacerbated circumstances in the inner city of poverty and lack of education during COVID. I'd like now to turn to Sonia van der Leur, the head of cognitive education. Sonia, can you outline what it means to be a thinking school, and how does this relate to social responsibility?
Sonia, your video is not on.
Can you unmute, Son? Okay, while Sonia's unmuting, just to say that what Sonia will also do once she's spoken is come to a clip by Ben Akalik, who is one of the founders of Habits of Mind in the world. And this is also part of our cognitive education program. So Sonia, is your mic working? Can we hear you? What people will see here is a clip by Ben Akalik, creator of the Habits of Mind in the world, and we'll see if we can come back to Sonia after this.
The mission of the Habits of Mind Institute is to be helping people and supporting people who are really working hard to make the world a more thoughtful place. And when we say thoughtful, we mean thoughtful from 2 perspectives. One, that you are thoughtful in the way that you think, that you're sensitive, you're a thoughtful person. The other is full of thought, that you really are a person who is a thinking person, well-informed and willing to be thoughtful. And so when we look at that, we consider that this is really around the world habits that people are using and developing. So we have people who are in New Zealand, in Australia, in Singapore, and of course in South Africa. And as we do that, we are realizing how important it is that it is not just for curriculum. It's not just to be thoughtful about the curriculum that you're engaged with. It's also important to be thoughtful about the world itself and how you can be purposeful in the world. In fact, what we see in Roedean School, where you are using the habits of mind as a way to help the young girls as they go off to become doing something of social purpose. And so what we say is that these habits of mind are important, whether it's in life, whether it's your work, whether it's in school, wherever you may be, they are essential schools, as good for us as adults as they are for students. And so what we suggest is that you pay attention to the habits and you become more, as we would say, metacognitive about them. You realize how important they are, and you become more aware of when you are using them and when you're not. So it's really important that we pay attention to, for example, managing our impulsivity so we don't just take action without thinking, being able to listen with understanding and empathy so that we're able to pay attention to other people and other people's points of view. In general, what we would say is that they are as important for young children as they are for adults, as they are for you and me, as we continue to invest our young people in the future of this world.
So thank you for that clip. What I'd like to suggest now is we try and go back to Sonia van der Leur, who seems to be having microphone problems.
Maud,
yes?
Can we go over to TD?
Okay.
So, from here.
Okay. So we will try and come back to Sonia van der Leur, who seems to be having microphone problems. And what we're going to do now is go to our fourth panelist, which is Tsidi Mukhodiri. Tsidi, can you explain to us what Think Equal is about and how this fits in with your social justice program within the junior school?
Thank you much for the question, and hello everyone. So education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. A powerful quote by Nelson Mandela. At Roedean, we believe that the TE, or the Think Equal program, is that powerful weapon that can be used to prepare our young children's minds to change the world. So what is Think Equal? Think Equal is a global initiative which calls for a system change in education to end the discriminatory mindsets and the cycle of violence across our world and ensures positive life outcomes for our children. The program believes that there is a missing subject in schools and that every child across the school or every child around the world has an absolute right to be nurtured with these values, with life skills and competencies which enable healthy and positive life outcomes. Think Equal is a program that addresses this missing subject in the early years curriculum for the children. At Roedean, we believe that learning to value another person or human being and having the ability to build healthy and principled relationships is as important as the academic program. It is well known that children, or during a child's formative years, much of a child's character and moral framework is developed. The Think Equal curriculum is committed to changing mindsets during the early years of the schooling, and it ensures that children are exposed to holistic approach to education that will result in a new generation of equal thinkers and ethical global citizens who can rise to the challenges of the 21st century. Roedean School was founded on the values of truth, honor, freedom, and courtesy. And the Think Equal program talks to these values. It is imperative that we include diversity in the junior school and that we include diversity and social justice education as part of the junior school curriculum. The Think Equal program is taught in a systematic and organized approach. It is extremely easy to follow and to implement. I teach it across the foundation phase of the junior school, and it is an integral part of our curriculum. The program addresses social, emotional, and ethical education, covering equality, empathy, peaceful conflict resolution, critical thinking, problem solving, gender sensitization, environmental confidence, protection, inclusion, celebration of differences, etc. This program also addresses 10 of the 17 Sustainable Goals development goals, including Goal 4, which is our quality education. Through the stories that we use in Think Equal, narrative and clearly set out lesson plans with good resources, the children participate in 3 shorter lessons per week and 2 longer lessons a week. Learning takes place through role-playing, teaching compassion, creativity, consideration, empathetical skills, and critical thinking. As small examples of the stories that are originally written and illustrated by a diverse group of people for Think Equal are Marvelous Me, Amazing Daisy, The Wall, and I Have a Plan. Marvelous Me focuses on celebrating similarities and differences. It focuses on focusing on similarities and differences to build self-esteem and respect for oneself and others. Amazing Daisy is about resilience. It's about problem solving, persistent, and not giving up. So it is about a story of a little chick who wishes she could fly. And it focuses also on resilience and goal settings, in that the children will follow the dream and mission of a chick called Daisy, so that so that they are able to set their own goals and work towards accomplishing them. The Wall is a story about different colors and how children can work together to build and work and create a rainbow so that they are able to understand one another and accept others. And lastly, I Have a Plan is a book about 4 animals, and these 4 animals are about listening, and it teaches children to listen, to be compassionate, and to be able to accept one another. As I mentioned earlier, this program is directed at the whole child. It begins with the individual child and developing the individual mindset in that child to recognize ethics, resilience, equality, diversity, and discrimination. As a result of individual changes, the children are able to move into what is called a collective level, which builds social cohesion. Roedean has become the Think Equal flagship school in South Africa, and we have begun working in partnership with Think Equal to develop this curriculum across South Africa through offering training and support to schools. I would like to end off with this quote by Aristotle: "Educating the head without educating the heart is no education at all." I thank you.
Thank you so much, Tsidi, for reminding us of the power of stories, for not only exploring diversity, but building confidence personally and facilitating equity. We're going to come back now to Sonia van der Loo. Sonia, could you explain what a thinking school means and how does this link to social responsibility?
Thank you, Marge, and I'm glad to be back. This year, Roedean School achieved its Advanced Thinking School accreditation through the University of Exeter in the UK. We are extremely proud of this, as we have been on a Thinking Schools journey since 2009. And so this approach is embedded in our school. The overarching strategy at the school is the habits of mind. The habits of mind are an identified set of 16 problem-solving, life-related skills that are necessary to be effective in society. The habits themselves are not new. Art Costa and Ben Acallick started off by looking at intelligent behaviors over 30 years ago, which has now developed into the 16 habits. The habits promote strategic reasoning, persistence, creativity, and empathy. The understanding and application of these 16 habits provide us with skills to work through real-life situations, such as the ones presented to our students in the Social Responsibility Programme, using an awareness, in other words, the ability to pick up on cues, thought, and intentional strategy in order to gain a positive outcome. As you have heard, the Social Responsibility Programme at Roedean has enabled our students to investigate the world beyond their immediate environment, to recognise their own and others' perspectives, to communicate ideas effectively, and to translate ideas and findings into appropriate actions to improve conditions. The habits of mind provide a foundation necessary for our students to learn, implement, reflect, and be effective whilst working in the various programs that the school has to offer. Being curious, questioning, taking risks, empathizing with others, collaborating are all necessary dispositions to have in order to be successful. So how do our students use the habits of mind? I thought I would choose 2 habits to discuss here: listening with understanding and empathy, and metacognition. So listening and understanding with empathy. This is where you seek to understand others. It is about devoting one's mental energy to another person's thoughts and ideas. You hold your own thoughts in check so you can better perceive another person's point of view and emotions. It is about listening with intent to what someone else is saying. There is a strategy that our students use called pause, paraphrase, probe. Pause means suppressing the urge to interrupt or dominate a conversation, or making the conversation about yourself, or solving your conversation partner's problems, and instead concentrating on the implications of their words. Paraphrasing is repeating back what you have heard in order to make sure you have heard correctly. Probing is to gain understanding. It is about asking your conversation partner open-ended what and how questions, which prompt them to provide more information, reflect on their situations, and feel more heard, rather than asking yes or no questions, which can kill conversations. For instance, instead of saying to someone, "Did you try asking others who've worked on similar projects for advice?" Rather ask, "In what ways have you reached out to others for advice?" You will get a far richer response. Taking a reflective stance in the midst of active problem solving is often difficult but necessary. So the second habit of mind I would like to discuss here is that of metacognition. Intelligent people plan for, reflect on, and evaluate the quality of their own thinking skills and strategies. Metacognition means becoming increasingly aware of one's actions and the effect of those actions on others and on the environment. It is about developing plans of action, monitoring these plans of action as they are employed, and being conscious of the need for mid-course correction if the plan is not meeting expectations, and then reflecting on the completed plan for self-evaluation and for improved performance. This reflective stance is embedded in the social responsibility programs. The habits of mind give our students the language, tools and skills to be effective problem solvers in all the social responsibility programs that Roedean offers. Considering the year that we have all lived through, it is evident that these dispositions are more relevant and important to develop in our students, and might I say it, ourselves, than ever before. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia, for highlighting the use of thinking skills, not only to develop a reflective, empathetic approach to social engagement, but to remind us of our interdependency in this world. And living in Africa, we are very aware of the word Ubuntu, which reminds us that people are people because of others, and that interdependency is a huge part of community. I want to remind our attendees that if you have any questions, you can use the Q&A platform to ask questions. And I now would like to thank the panelists for their overviews. We've heard about our projects fostering leadership, environmental, educational, and social justice with practical takeaways. I want to remind you that there was a slide right at the beginning of our presentation, which takes you to a Google Doc, which will give you more information and the contact people involved in many of our projects. And after the Q&A, if we do have any questions, we will play out with a ending slide, which will have a link to a form that you can fill in should you wish to collaborate with us on one or more of our projects. And that will also be posted in the Q&A platform so that you can click on it. And that form will take you to many of the different aspects of our programs. I do hope that people want to collaborate with us, because this whole T4 initiative is about showcasing to inspire others and to foster collaboration. And the United Nations has made it clear that we cannot achieve the sustainable goals on our own, but that the completion of the sustainable goals is needed in this world by 2030, and yet we can only do that through international collaboration. So thank you to the sponsors, thank you to Vigus Potter, thank you to the T4 organizers, but we really do hope that you reach out and collaborate with us. There are no questions, so we want to thank you for listening, and we look forward to hearing from you. And we will leave the feedback form on our screen for a couple of minutes and then play out with the video from the sponsors and from the T4 organizers. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Vikas Potter. The reason why we're organizing this global showcase for World Education Week is we believe that schools have incredible expertise in making sure that learning outcomes improve. Given the state of the world, we want to see the expertise from this particular school being replicated in schools all over our planet so that the world becomes better for everyone. That is why I congratulate this school for what it does and hope that those listening can take away conclusions as to how they should actually approach their own improvement journeys. Thank you all for participating, and I look forward to seeing you in many of the other events this coming week. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors for supporting this incredible work, without whom we couldn't have put together this global showcase. Thank you, and I wish you well for this event.
Fast-paced social, economic and technology-driven change is redefining our world. And having a broad range of skills such as creativity and problem solving has become far more important than being able to memorize information. To redefine how our children learn and to empower them for the future, parents, teachers and policymakers must stop overlooking a powerful part of the solution: learning through play. Play is the rocket fuel of child development, and there is a growing body of evidence to support that play is fundamental for children's positive growth and well-being over time. It is also an essential way to foster the skills required to thrive in today's world. The LEGO Foundation aims to build a future in which learning through play empowers children to become creative, engaged, lifelong learners. To do so, we work with a range of partners around the world to change the hearts and minds of all of those who influence children's lives through our programs, research and advocacy, so they can all embrace the transformative power of play. Examples of what we do include making sure that caregivers, practitioners and policymakers understand the importance of play, investigating, testing and scaling new ways to bring play-based learning into homes and schools, using play to help millions of the world's most vulnerable children cope with adverse childhood experiences and toxic stress, or conducting research with some of the world's leading research institutions. Please visit our website and follow us on social media to learn more.
Language connects us all. It's how friendships are formed, ideas are shared, and lessons are learned. Language is how we find understanding and express love. It's how we communicate our successes, both big and small. It lays the groundwork for learning and growth. And for an increasingly diverse student population, it can be the key to achievement in school and beyond. That's why Rosetta Stone Education is dedicated to language and literacy. We offer solutions designed to support teachers and their emergent bilingual students, recognizing and celebrating the knowledge, culture, and languages they bring to our classrooms. Our products are founded on the adaptive blended learning model for individual needs, continuous progress monitoring for better learning outcomes, and culturally responsive pedagogies for more inclusive classrooms. With solutions aligned with proficiency standards, we support language learning while exploring academic subject areas, paving the way to better outcomes. Because for all of us, language is everything.
Dear T4 community, we talk a lot about teachers these days, but we rarely listen to them. Therefore, I am truly excited to join the T4 World Education Week to hear from teachers and school leaders all over the world how we can impact learning together. I'm particularly looking forward to the Global Showcase. 100 schools sharing their expertise and best practices, I believe, will be a huge motivation for other schools around the globe. I'm equally impressed by the T4 Solutions Challenge, its finalists and their solutions to real-world issues in education. This gives me hope that we can, together, turn around education globally. The Jacobs Foundation is a proud supporter of the T4 World Education Week because we share a vision to reimagine learning and education by bringing together the brightest people who understand how children learn. Let's do this together.